Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Paris, and I have an important question for anyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, under the direction of Rick Valenzuela, Phantom Regiment.
Live now.
Hello and welcome to the 2020 Phantom Regiment Hall of Fame ceremony. My name is Mike Robinson, and you may recognize me as the voice of the shows, which I've been doing for over 20 years now. I'm thrilled to be a part of this special evening and glad you could join us tonight. In a year that has been like no other in the history of Drum Corps, the Phantom Regiment organization has put together an exciting program that celebrates this unprecedented year and, most importantly, honors 4 incredible individuals who will live on in Phantom Regiment history as a part of the Hall of Fame. Here's what you can look forward to this evening. We're going to be spending the first half of the program hearing from the leadership from all of our organizations and various programs affiliated with this organization, including the Board of Directors, the Drum Corps and PR Academy, and Phantom Regiment Alumni Association. In the last half of the evening, we will present our 2020 Hall of Fame inductees. Now, you're not going to want to miss hearing from these incredible individuals and those that have nominated them this evening. So be sure to stick around with us for tonight's ceremony. Now, before we get started, I want to remind you that tonight is the last night for the Hall of Fame online auction. If you haven't checked it out, head over to regiment.org/auction2020. That's regiment.org/auction2020. And check out some of the amazing memorabilia, gifts, and other items up for bid. The auction ends tonight at 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. So be sure to bid early and, as they say, bid often. With that, please help me welcome the 1975 H-Out of the Drum Corps Hall of Fame member and president of our board of directors, Mr. Tim Farrell. Tim?
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. Hello, friends, family, staff, volunteers, supporters. I'm proud and honored to be in front of everybody today. For what I think of typically is the most fun night of the year for the Phantom Regiment, honoring the people that have made Phantom Regiment what it was, what it is, and what it will be. And for the record, I feel this way even in a normal year, just because of the magic that is in the air when all these people come together. Celebrating these people whose commitment, dedication, and contribution to the organization sits at legendary status. It's always so enjoyable. Example, Linda Reebok, a 35-year super volunteer who's helped the organization at pretty much every level, in most cases simultaneously for all of those years. Vicki Auditor, a championship performer, a championship teacher, a championship role model, and a role model for everybody that worked with her. Greg Cesario, a pioneer of visual movement, championship designer, highly regarded staff member, and operating at the very top of the activity. Dwight Emmert, what can I say, a championship member, teacher, caption head, a leader and a role model for the staff, for the members, and honestly, for the entire organization. The Phantom Regiment is so lucky to have had each of you come spend some time with us over the years. You see, we have this vision, a vision of a world filled with empowered and passionate leaders. And we choose to achieve this vision by providing life-changing experiences through performing arts education. That's our mission. And you people have clearly moved the needle for Phantom Regiment in that mission. And we can proudly say that your effects are permanent. So I congratulate and applaud you all. A little bit of clapping, a lot of applause. Yeah. Thank you. As I address y'all tonight, it's no secret that over the course of the past 9 months, the organization has had to reimagine itself In the wake of this raging pandemic that we're all living through right now, we've had to reinvent how we meet and how we stay organized. We've employed previously untested flexibility and methodology in how we interact and engage with our members. Our budget numbers have been thrown into the mixing bowl and completely rearranged in an attempt to ensure the long-term survivability of the organization. And a new series of performing arts education has been developed under Phantom Regiment Academy umbrella so that we can reach even more young people, so many of which are operating, learning, and growing in a vacuum. The transition has been extensive and is constantly evolving. Each one of these action items I just mentioned are so much larger than they sound when I rush through them, but rest assured, we've got scores of people working tirelessly to bring those changes to fruition. And through it all, new and emerging heroes are rising to the top. We have at this moment a balanced budget, a drum corps staff doing a fantastic job creating what's next for the performing arts, for our performing units, rather. We have unprecedented interaction with local public schools who struggle to keep their students engaged. We just launched our virtual expert learning series for beginning students. And the truth is, the organization continues to amaze me. Through adversity, we grow and become stronger. Our donors and supporters came through in record numbers, showing their belief that we're on the right track and that our staff and amazing people continue to pour their heart and soul into the good fight to keep us moving. I'm so proud to be a part of it. I'll conclude by acknowledging and offering my sincere thanks to Robin Lanning and Robert Cawthorn, Mike Robinson and the Hall of Fame Committee for pulling this off tonight. No easy feat. To David Warren, Tony Hall, and our amazing staff for their continued creativity. To Stan Malden for his tireless efforts growing the Phantom Regiment Academy brand. To the Phantom Regiment Board, headlined by Jeff Hassan and his Development Committee, Kelly Cuvalier and her Finance Committee, and Greg Newell with the Governance Committee. Can't forget Joe Hickey, who keeps us on the straight and narrow path. I have the utmost respect to each of you, and thank you very much for your efforts. They are irreplaceable. So thank you, everybody. Cheers to our new inductees, and I will bring to the microphone David Warren, who Mike Robinson is going to take care of that part. Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you, Tim. He takes direction well, don't you think? While the cancellation of the 2020 Drum Corps season was a disappointment to many, it was of no greater disappointment than to our members. Like every year, our talented members were excited about bringing the magic of Phantom Regiment to the field. But as the Phantom Regiment has always done, the Drum Corps has persevered. Here with a recap of this unprecedented season is Drum Corps Director, Mr. David Warren. David?
Hello, everybody. Let me just start and say it's such an honor to be here with you tonight and to be able to celebrate these four incredible individuals that were able to build this incredible organization that we all get to call home. We're so very thankful for all of our Hall of Fame members and everything that they have done in order to build the success of this organization. Our 2020 Drum Corps season, we were starting out on such an incredible foot. We had a great Drum Corps staff, as Tim's saying, a great design team. Of course, we always had our passionate volunteers that really keep our Drum Corps running. We all know that's the truth. And of course, we had some incredible members show up to be a part of the 2020 Drum Corps. As we all know, the way things happened this year, we unfortunately were not able to have a season. But as you know, in typical Phantom Regiment fashion, we did not let that get in the way of still being able to grow as people and performers. Our members this summer engaged in a virtual program where they had different musical assignments, visual assignments, movement assignments, etc. And they were able to work on their skills individually as opposed to how we normally have to do it as a full group with the Drum Corps. We as a staff were absolutely blown away at the growth that they were able to show over the course of the summer. One really special thing about Drum Corps is that you use the energy of the people around you in order to help you get through the day, and use that as inspiration to be performers and better people. And I think what was so special about these 2020 members is they didn't have that. They were looking at a computer screen and trying to connect with each other virtually. And the amount of growth that they were able to have over the course of that summer, despite the circumstances, was absolutely incredible. And we could not be more proud of their efforts. Since then, what we have loved seeing is that they're getting to be involved in their college marching bands, high school marching bands, getting some teaching opportunities. They are not letting COVID get them down, and they are still trying to get out there and fulfill the mission of a Phantom Regiment member, which is to go out and change the world. Take the lessons you've learned and go out and change the world. And we could not be more proud of how they persevered through all of this. And of course, we're staying optimistic about everything in the future. We know that this drum corps is built on just some incredible individuals like the ones that we're honoring tonight. And I have so much faith that we're going to be able to push through all of this, and we're going to come out so much stronger and ready to go. So to wrap up, thank you so much for having me here tonight. It's such an honor. And with that, I'll go back to Mike Robinson. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, David. Prior to 2020, the Board of Directors put an increased focus on the Phantom Regiment mission of providing life-changing experiences through performing arts education. This year presented a unique opportunity, of course, to take an already successful summer camp program virtual, as well as expand virtual learning opportunities for young musicians and performers beyond the drum corps field. Joining us from the Lone Star State with an update on these efforts is PR Academy Director, Mr. Stan Maudlin.
What a thrill it is to be with you tonight, and what a thrill it is to be a part of this wonderful and storied organization. My name is Stan Maudlin. I am the director of the Phantom Regiment Academy. Since the summertime, we have been holding virtual camps and clinics. We held 4 sold-out leadership clinics, 3 sold-out drum major camps. We have started the Phantom Regiment residency program, where we are educating band directors and students throughout the Midwest and across Texas. And just last week, we launched the Expert Lesson Series, which is a private lesson program for our students throughout the country. We are really very excited about the opportunities that we have for education with Phantom Regiment and the PR Academy, and we're very excited about the future of Phantom Regiment as an organization. Well, congratulations to our Hall of Fame inductees, Vicky Auditor, Greg Cesario, Dwight Emmerich, and Linda Reebok. You know, I was thinking about what made me come to Phantom Regiment, and it was those great performances that you were a part of that made me want to be a part of Phantom Regiment. As I reflect on what you've done for the organization and what you've done for the marching arts in general, you are the giants that have made everything that we do possible today. We stand on your shoulders, and thank you very much for your commitment to the Phantom Regiment. We look forward to a very bright future. Stay safe and stay well.
Try not to bring it home to Lisa.
Thank you, Stan. One of the most glaring indicators of the success of the Phantom Regiment, Regiment's mission is the sheer quality of talented, successful individuals who can call themselves PR alumni. The mission of the Phantom Regiment Alumni Association is to preserve the heritage of the Phantom Regiment. Please help me in welcoming the president of the PRAA, Neely Brooks, with an update on the PRAA's efforts this year. Neely?
Hi, my name's Neely, and I'm the current president of the Phantom Regiment Alumni Association. I'd like to welcome y'all here to celebrate the induction of 4 fantastic people to the Phantom Regiment Hall of Fame. Before we lift our glasses and congratulate our inductees, I would like to take a few minutes and talk to you about the Phantom Regiment Alumni Association. A common question that we get are, who are you guys and what do you do? So who we are is there are 20 alumni on the board of directors of the Phantom Regiment Alumni Association. Currently, we have representation from the 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000. So we've got it covered. We provide alumni with a place to catch up on current information with our Facebook pages. We have Instagram and Twitter, and we're working on updating the website. Along with providing current information, over the past years, the Phantom Regiment Alumni Association has helped with big ticket items purchased for the Drum Corps. In 2019, we headed up the funding for the souvenir trailer, and hopefully we'll get to see that this coming summer. We also do the homecoming event at Boylan Stadium. That's our big fundraiser, that show of shows. We all participate in setting up the day before, all the organization that happens the months and months before that. We provide the kickoff party the night before, where we do an auction and raffle and have some time to reminisce and catch up. Show of Shows is always a fun day for everybody. We get to participate and interact with the current members of the Drum Corps, and that's always a really good time. We're also there, want to let you guys know, the next day for Teardown. And if any of the younger alumni would like to volunteer to stay around the next day, some of us are getting old and could use the help. So we'd appreciate it. A few last minute items here. The ring orders are now open. You can break those orders down into 2 payments. The rings are offered for alumni, staff, and volunteers. So if you're interested in ordering one of those, I would encourage you to go ahead and do that. A great way to contribute to the Drum Corps or the Phantom Regiment Alumni Association is to sign up with Amazon Smile. We're all at home a lot more right now. Anytime you order anything off of Amazon, a small part of that would be contributed back to the Drum Corps, and we'd really appreciate the help of that. So sign up with either the Phantom Regiment or Phantom Regiment Alumni Association on Amazon Smile. What else do we have today? Wanted to thank everybody for making the Fanathon such a great success this year. It was a wonderful 24 hours of Phantom Regiment. Tony Hall, Robin Lanning, and Robert Cawthorn. Cheers, you guys did a great job. Tonight, we are celebrating a group of people who have made uncountable contributions to the betterment of the Drum Corps and its members. I was lucky enough to march in 1983, my rookie year, with Dwight. We were both pretty young back then, and he was pretty quiet. He was always ready with a smile and a laugh. The first time I heard the phrase, "heart on fire, mind on ice," was before we were going into a show. That phrase has always struck me as the kind of teacher and leader that Dwight is, and I'm honored to know him, and he always makes me smile when I see him. That brings me to 1987. 1987 was a really special year. It was my age out year, and it was the first year of the all-white uniforms. We had the look, and we had the music, and Greg Cesario and his eye for design brought all of that together. Vicky was a big part of that, and interpreting his movement and connecting with the color guard that year, it made that whole year really fantastic. In closing, I want to tell a quick story about Linda Reebok. I had been away from the Drum Corps for about 10 years, had no contact, and was able to move back to Rockford and knew that I wanted to be involved with the Drum Corps again. And made some connections and found out that they needed some help at check-in at the camp at Aldrich Middle School. So I signed up to do the check-in table and was a little nervous about going in because I wasn't sure who was going to be there, how it was going to be. And as soon as I walked in, I turn and look, and Miss Reebok's at the table. She goes, "Hey, you're supposed to be helping me. Take your coat off and get over here." So, yes, ma'am. So I take my coat off, come over, sit down beside her. She gives me my pad and my pencil, and she tells me the whole spiel of what to do. And she gets called off, and I'm like, well, not here 2 seconds, and I'm getting bossed around by Miss Reebok. It's good to be home. Thank you for this evening to the Board of Directors of the Phantom Regiment. Thanks to all of you for being here and participating tonight. Be sure to bid each other up at the auction so we can get some money coming in for the drum corps. And join me in congratulating the new class of inductees into the Phantom Regiment Hall of Fame. Suda.
Well, folks, we have arrived at the moment you've all been waiting for. The introduction of the 2020 Hall of Fame inductees. The Phantom Regiment Hall of Fame began in 2016 with the induction of 36 individuals who had previously been recognized by being added to the Heritage Plaque. The Hall of Fame was created during Phantom Regiment's 60th year as a way to recognize individuals who have made a significant and long-lasting positive impact on the organization. It is my great pleasure to introduce the class of 2020 to you tonight. Up first, a former member of the Color Guard from 1976 to 1978, Vicki Auditor would become a fixture on the Guard staff throughout the 80s and 90s, inspiring countless young women throughout her tenure. Vicki was a shining example of enthusiasm and determination, both on the field and as a member of the 60th anniversary Color Guard, as well as off the field as she battled breast cancer. Though Vicki died in November of 2019, her spirit lives on in the men and women who knew and loved her. Please help me welcome one of the women who nominated Vicki for recognition in the Hall of Fame, Debbie Smith.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Smith, and I am a member of the Phantom Regiment alumni. It is an honor and a privilege to introduce Vicki Parks Auditor as an inductee into the Phantom Regiment Hall of Fame. Vicki began her drum corps career with the Waterloo, Iowa Chevaliers. She joined the Phantom Regiment Color Guard in 1976. I first met Vicki in 1977, and we became roommates and even co-workers at the Poppin' Fresh Pies at the mall at Cherryvale. When Vicki aged out in 1978, she became a member of the Phantom Regiment staff. We shared the victories of the 1979 and 80 WGI championships and the defeat of the 78 and 79 DCI championships. Vicki was never in the spotlight. She was quiet in the background and always there for everyone with her kindness and confidence. But on the field, boy, was she a fierce competitor. Vicki not only taught us how to win with dignity and class, but also to lose in the same manner. In the 70s, 80s, and 90s, she helped shape the lives of so many as a performer, educator, and as a financial supporter. She was respected by many and had a positive impact on the lives she touched. This is evidenced by the generous outpouring of monetary donations for the Vicki Parks Auditor Scholarship Fund. This fund will allow young men and women to live out their dreams to march in the Phantom Regiment. Where we started is where we continue to be, and our drum corps friendships are so unique. We may go even months or years without seeing each other, but once in the same presence, it's as if not a second of time has passed. Vicki's friendship with me has been a treasure, and I can speak on behalf of all the young Guard members she taught, mentored, and supported over the years that she left an imprint of love, faith, and strength on our hearts. To quote her husband, Steve, "We all know how important drum corps and the Phantom Regiment were in Vicki's life, not only as an activity, but in providing opportunities, values, and experiences that would make her the best person possible." Vicki was her most proud when she became a mom, and it was such a joy to see her blossom as a mother. Her love for her daughter, Samantha, was beautiful. It was through Facebook that we witnessed her daughter growing up, and also where her husband, Steve, shared Sam and Vicki's last days together. Vicki's battle with cancer was heartbreaking, and her courage was remarkable. She fought hard and thought she had won the battle. But the cancer returned, and before anyone could believe what was happening, she was gone. In closing, I may not remember what Vicki had said to me over the years, but I remember how she made me feel. And I thank her for being instrumental in making my experience with the Phantom Regiment one that I will cherish forever. Good evening. Boy, I said I wasn't going to do this, but I'm doing it. That was really, really hard. Tonight, please help me welcome and accepting her mom's induction into the 2020 Phantom Regiment Hall of Fame, Vicki's daughter, Samantha.
Hi, my name is Samantha Auditor, and I will be accepting this award tonight on behalf of my mother, Vicki Auditor. When I was probably about 8 years old, I told my mom I wouldn't be in color guard like she was, and I instead wanted to be a swimmer. She was understandably a bit heartbroken considering her history with the Phantom Regiment and DCI, but she threw herself into being the best swim mom she could be. Vicky Auditor was not just exemplary and passionate in her relationship with the Phantom Regiment, but also in her relationships with each and every person her life touched, which is why her impact is so lasting on so many. The regiment was and always will be her home, but she also had so much outside of that. My father was on the board for the Blue Devils, but he and my mom met at the 1993 Phantom Regiment end of season banquet. My older sister, Alexis, was in the guard of the San Jose Raiders. It was Vicky who taught her how to spin and even flew out to San Jose from Chicago once or twice a month to help with the Raiders bingo. I think that's what was so special about my mom and her relationship with the drum corps. It's that she so fully understood what the real meaning of it all was. It was the relationships you formed. And she wanted to give everyone else the life-changing experience that she had, even if it wasn't in her home corps or even in her beloved DCI at all. She understood the true value that every interaction with another person had. And maybe she didn't do it consciously, but she formed bonds with so many people and facilitated countless others to form their own important relationships. I've had people that I haven't spoken to in years approach me in the grocery store or text me to tell me about interactions with my mom that struck with them. Your mom told me that I stole the show in our senior year musical. I felt so special, said one particular acquaintance. In the early 2000s, my mother owned a children's bookstore. And I know in my heart that some part of her imagined every single person who walked out of there with a picture book, reading it to their child at home. It is not easy to love so much. In fact, it is supremely painful, but she did it all so effortlessly. And I think every person who knew her could feel that love. On November 10th of 2019, Vicky lost her over 2-year-long battle with breast cancer. Not much in life makes sense, but I think this has made the least sense of all. When you lose someone so immeasurably valued and loved, it is easy to fall into the pit of grief and despair. I know that's why I personally have been trying to memorialize her in the most positive way possible, always trying to remind people of how much she loved them. This award is such a positive memorial from my mom to remind us of all the lives she's touched, of all the light and love she brought into this world in her unfairly short time inhabiting it. On behalf of my mom, I would like to thank all of the Phantom alumni who made this honor possible for her. I'd like to thank Jerry Williams, Deborah Smith, and my Aunt Lori Baker for writing the stellar letters of recommendation that would help her be inducted. And last but not least, I would like to thank everyone who has donated to the Vicky Parks Auditor Memorial Scholarship Fund. We've raised close to $15,000 that will go towards helping other young people get the Phantom Regiment experience that my mom valued so highly. I hope each and every single person here tonight knows that she loved you all so much. Thank you.
When designing for color guard and movement, the ultimate goal is to perfectly complement the music. And that is exactly what Greg Cesario did for the Phantom Regiment. Hired as a color guard designer for the 1987 and 1988 seasons, Greg's design helped the 88 Guard team earn top honors at DCI World Championships. Greg played an integral role in bringing movement into the horn line as a way to enhance the overall effect of the program. And in 1996, Greg's drill would help Phantom Regiment win its first DCI championship. Join me in welcoming fellow Hall of Fame member Tony Hall, who nominated Greg for the Phantom Regiment Hall of Fame.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy we found a way to get together to honor our 2020 Hall of Fame inductees. Tonight, it's my pleasure to introduce our dear friend, who I happen to share a birthday with, Greg Cesario. I've had the good fortune to work with Greg several times throughout the years, and each time watched him produce great works of art. It makes perfect sense for Regiment to honor Greg. Dr. Dan once said, Greg brought a graceful style to the regiment and was a major factor and driving force in fostering the classic look and attitude the Corps has to this day. We can all agree it's still here. Greg's time with Regiment's Guard in the late 80s brought the beginning of visual musicality to the Corps. His Guard work and choreography matched not only the musical count structure, but also brought the precise mood of the composer's intent to life. His Guard design for Regiment in 1988 won first place at championships, and the look of that Guard was copied by many other units. What stuck out most was that you could always see what you were hearing. It was sublime to watch the flags cut through planes, creating their own musical lines, fitting perfectly within the musical score. And his introduction of choreography into the horn line was unparalleled. It gave new meaning to having a total show package. Some of Greg's work was behind the scenes and went uncredited. It should be known that Greg had a major impact on regiment visual programs by assisting Brazzali during John's later years in creating and charting some of the most iconic, complex, and innovative sets in regiment history. And then there is Defiant Heart. Greg's visual interpretation of Jim Wren's wonderful musical arrangements of the 96 production was everything. Beautiful, deliberate, musical, engaging, and entertaining. His mastery of form, timing, and flow was on display throughout the entire production. The slow build-up of the opener brought everyone to the edge of their seat in anticipation of the hit. His unexpected use of a single Guard member when everyone thought it was going to be a full ensemble flag moment blew everyone away. It brought us to the coveted DCI championship that had eluded us for so many years. It was fitting that it happened on the 50th anniversary of our Corps, making that historic win so much more rewarding, still living on in our hearts today. So please join with me in congratulating Greg on his induction into the Phantom Regiment's Hall of Fame. Much deserved.
Hi everybody at the Phantom Family. I'm Greg Cesario, and I'm very happy to be getting this award. First of all, I'd like to thank Tony Hall for the nomination and the kind words. And then I would like to thank Cindy B for the kind words in her recommendation letter. I'd also like to I'm very happy that I'm in the same year as an inductee with the other inductees, Dwight, Linda, and Vicki. So having said that, I will also tell, for those of you that don't know my tenure here at the regiment, was that I was brought on as the color guard designer, choreographer in the mid to late 80s, stayed on as John Brazali's drill design assistant, and then kind of stuck around with the Corps whenever needed, oftentimes with Corps choreography, placement, things like that. And then elevated to drill designer in '96, which, by the way, I have a story. Let me back up for a second, a little sidebar about movement with the Corps. For those people that think in the outside world that they invented it or developed it, they might want to look backwards at the regiment. We got to that party and that table really early. So just to let you all know. So when I first came on, oh, and I'd also like to thank the people all those years ago that had kind of the guts to bring me on. Dr. Dan, of course, John Brazali, my brother Michael, and all the managerial staff at the regiment. When people first heard I was coming, they were like, Greg Cesario, Phantom Regiment. Why? You know, they're kind of blue collar, typical Midwest. They're all plumbers, electricians, teachers. I said, Well, I'm a Kenosha boy, so that environment, I kind of like that. And I got the art, they got the technique, let's go, I'm going. And everybody was like, okay. So I came, and I was very happy here. I liked the environment. I always felt like family. I do think that, you know, there's an adage I spent many years in New York City as a professional performer. So there's an adage, decades old. Oh, let me put this down. An adage, decades old in New York City, that when a young actor says, I want to become professional, what do? I want to know how to get good quick. And the old line is, from old timers, is say your lines and don't bump into the furniture. And that's kind of how I approached it at the regiment. I thought, you know what? Let's get really pragmatic. Come prepared, work hard, teach well, be a professional. And that's kind of how the regiment was. So I felt very embraced right away. So let me come to story number one, because now that everything's out of the way, we'll get to the stories, because that's essentially what you're left with. All of them good, nothing negative. Well, if there were any negative stories, they were all from outside influences. It never had to do with inside the family. So my first experience with the Corps was a camp. And of course, there were no, you know, bells and whistles and parades and fanfares and welcomes. And of course, this is the regiment, so there was no signing bonus. And I was sitting in a hallway with Cindy Baumgartner and Vicki. And we were going over what my approach would be. And I have to tell you, the entire time, Vicki was crying, beet red and crying. And I couldn't figure out why. And I realized it was a big change for her. I don't know what she thought. You know, you're going to make them all foofy and feminine and they won't be strong. And I said, they'll be strong and elegant. And it'll be great. And Cindy, you know that thing they do nowadays with the double fingers and the eyes? It's like, that was Cindy, except Cindy B didn't need the fingers. She just looked, she knew what was going on. And I finally figured out that to a stranger, who I was at the time, they were handing over this gift of these 32 wonderful ladies, and that these girls were going to be mine. But in the back of my mind, I always thought, the girls will be mine, but the guard is Cindy's. And that always made sense to me, because it was like, you know, I'm a chunk of this whole linear heritage and I'm just being inserted here for my purpose. So we're doing the big rebirth, the big renaissance of the Corps, the blinding white year, the new costumes from Michael, this new, slightly new sound, new visual. It was exciting, but we knew we had to come out ready and we had to come out good, and we did. And we were at our, I would say, debut Renaissance show. And I forget where it was. I don't remember details well. I want to say it was Whitewater. And we came out and we were terrific. And the staff's looking at each other and the kids are like amazing. And we get done with the show and the crowd is going wild. I have competitors, people, friends of mine that I know, that are rushing down to the field crying and saying, I've never seen anything like this before. Let alone from the regiment, is what they're thinking in the back of their mind. But I'm like, I'm loving it. Well, I got to tell you something. We were 6th. This judging panel was looking around, I don't know, on the street for like Girl Scout troops or something to put ahead of us. I don't know what was going on. So that night, the staff says, Greg, you go to this judge. It wasn't a color guard judge. It was a visual judge. And they knew that I was like, oh, Greg's the patient, nice one, but my blood was kind of like, you know. So I go up to the box, and I'll never forget the judge had his clipboard, and he was a little, you know, arrogant. And he made the mistake of sitting on the desk with his back to the windows. I almost pushed him out to his death. I was so angry. But I kept a lid on it, and I said, were you in the same stadium? Did you see what was going on? Because like people were throwing their like children at the field and their lunch and their beers. And he actually looked at me and he said, well, the judging panel and I, we didn't know you were going to be that good. And I said, well, now, Greg, welcome to the world of the Phantom Regiment. This is what these poor people have been going through their entire existence. So I said, so you basically prejudged us, right? And he said, well, So this was my welcome to the Phantom Regiment first critique. And I said, I will do everything in my power to make this Corps what it is, but what it should be to the rest of the drum corps world. While people were rushing the field, I'm pacing around trying to figure out what I'm going to say to the kids and the critique and blah, blah, blah. And 2 women came down, young women, drum corps fans. And I was introduced to them. I didn't know them. And they were lovely. 2 sisters, it turned out. And the older sister is talking a mile a minute. They were gorgeous. They did this, the show, the guard, everything. And she kept talking. And finally, I turned to the younger sister to see what she thought. And I get choked up every time I think about this. But she said, the older sister says, my younger sister's deaf. And she can't hear a thing. But during the program, she felt like she could hear the music because of what the girls were doing. Every lyric, every word, what the essence of the musical moments were. And I mean, get over that one. That propelled me for the rest of my entire tenure with the regiment. And I said, that's our purpose, to be the words to the music. And, you know, I think you kind of always are. And I will never forget that, because my approach with the regiment had always been to be not so literal. Nowadays, people are storytelling. And in those moments, with wonderful arrangements by Jim Wren and even afterwards, I look and I think, all the purpose is to be the essence of the music. What is that musical phrase saying in that moment? And everybody's so concerned nowadays about being relevant and being present and being in the moment. Well, there's nothing more than that. As the music comes out, what are the words speaking? So I felt very gifted to have had that moment with those 2 sisters. So now, fast forward, and we're at April 1st, 1996. hard to forget, April 1st, phone call from Dan Farrell. Okay, you figure out how they are linked, but hard to forget. And I'm sitting at my desk, and the monotone baritone gets on the phone, and he says, "Hi, Greg, it's Dan Farrell." I said, "Dan, I haven't talked to you in a while. How's everything? Good. Listen, the Corps needs a favor." And I said, "Absolutely, whatever I can do to help you out." "Yeah, well, we need a drill." And I'm starting to think, who do I know that? He said, "Yeah, we need a drill from you." And for once in my life, twice, I was speechless. I was like, Dan, it's April 1st. And I didn't know what the situation was, none of my business. I said, I will drop everything to do it. And I did. I dropped pretty much everything I was doing in my life to do it, because I so love this Corps. And he said, we'll leave you alone. We won't call you, talk to you, bother. We know how you are. You are not good with pressure. You like your cup of coffee. You like your serenity. And I said, yeah. And they didn't. They didn't call me, talk to me. He said, if you need anything, call us. And I did. I needed one thing once. I needed like an extra bar or 2 measures of something to make something fulfilled, a visual fulfilled. And, good luck with that, asking Jim Wren for a measure, but I got it. And it was like, okay, so they really trust me to do this. So obviously it's this accelerated process. Everything's accelerated. And I wrote and wrote because I loved this show. I mean, they sent me the music. I said, boom, I know what I'm doing. And because of everything, it became the responsibility of the designer to kind of shape the whole show. And I had help with a few people, my brother and some of the visual people. Phenomenal staff, as always, at the regiment. And I came in to, I guess, the first camp. I hadn't seen anybody in a long time. And I want to say, Bob Smith would remember, I don't remember, I want to say it was Memorial Day. And it was your typical, one day it's rainy and cold, and the next day it's like 95 and mosquitoes. And I'm crazy. And I come in with this deck. This is in the day of paper, And I come in with the whole thing. And Bob Smith says, give me that. And we're looking at it and we're doing it. And we did, everything was accelerated. To the credit of the percussion and music staff who knew what was going on and said, nope, drill, nope, drill, 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 drill. We've got to get this. And we got to a point where we were coming, I'll never forget this, we were coming back from the stadium and exhausted and beat up, but we had done the first run through, I believe singing, not with instruments yet, but the whole thing. And it was ragged, but it was pretty good. And everybody knew it. The kids adored it. And the staff just, give me that, I want more, give me more, So we loved it. And I'm dragging to the school, and there's a few people around me, my brother's next to me. And this rush of wind comes to my right-hand side, and it's Dave St. Angel. I don't have time to talk, and there's poor Nancy flailing behind him, and he's got business to do, and he's running into the school, but doesn't break stride. But over his shoulder, he says, that's a winning drill. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Well, thank goodness, a little validation. I think we're on the right track. My brother Michael says, that's not what he said. He said, that's the winning drill. And you know what? 3 months later, Dave St. Angel was right. So that's my acceptance speech with this guy here, which I will treasure forever. And I was telling Robert, who's behind the camera right now, that many of you may know or not know that 3 years ago I had quadruple bypass surgery. They opened my chest, they yanked around in there, and it was bad. I was the fit one, so who would ever know? But what was cool about it is I thought, I'm sitting there and, you go through memories and the regiment comes up while you're all loopy. And I want to say I told the doc that while you're going around there digging around, if you see a little chevron in the bottom of my heart, you leave that alone. You keep that there.
What a wonderful story. Dwight Emmert, was a member of the contrabass section in 1982 and 83, as well as 1988. But it is his contributions as an instructor that has earned him a spot in the Phantom Regiment Hall of Fame. Dwight's leadership as visual caption head was integral in the Corps earning top honors in visual effect in 2006. In his roles as instructor, advisor, designer, and currently education coordinator, Dwight has been recognized for his passion and commitment to pushing members to achieve at the highest levels of the marching arts activity. Here to share why he nominated Dwight for the 2020 Hall of Fame is current Drum Corps Director, Mr. David Warren. David?
Thank you. Good evening again. It is such a great honor and privilege to be able to introduce one of my mentors and dearest friends, Dwight Emmert. I first met Dwight in November of 2011 when I was auditioning for the Drum Corps for the very first time. And since then, I've had the opportunity to be one of Dwight's students, of course, in the Drum Corps, and now one of his colleagues in the DCI activity. As Mike just said, Dwight's impact on the Phantom Regiment began when he started as a marching member in 1982 and 1983. And then aging out with the Corps as the Contra section leader in 1988. Since then, he served the regiment in multiple capacities, such as visual caption head, visual designer, spearheading our membership leadership development, and now in his current role as education coordinator. And that role fits him extremely well, because if you know Dwight, his true passion is education. Through his time with the Phantom Regiment, he has been very influential in developing fresh and educationally sound ways to rehearse the Drum Corps. As a member, it was very evident that he did everything in his power to give the very best possible educational experience that he can provide. If you've also been around Dwight, you know that he never gives up and he never will ever be outworked by anybody, ever. He has high expectations for himself and those that are around him. Getting the opportunity to work with Dwight now as a colleague with the Corps, I'm able to really see the planning process that he goes through to create these educational experiences. This includes coordination between all captions to create a process that will be mutually beneficial in all aspects of the Corps, and of course, provide our members with the highest level of educational experience that we can. Because of this, Dwight is one that's always learning and always looking for new ways to enhance the educational opportunities for our members. As we all know, being an educator is not easy. And of course, just being a leader of a full group of people is not easy. However, Dwight is able to inspire a group of people toward a common goal like anybody I've ever met in my entire life. To quote his brother Jay, and a Phantom Regiment alum and also longtime staff member, he says, Dwight is a master motivator. He has a clear vision for every task and he demands that everyone fulfills their commitment to absolute excellence. He maintains clear and concise communication between designers and instructors and is a main force behind keeping the staff focused and motivated. The Corps has most certainly benefited from his expertise and unparalleled work ethic. I could not agree more with Jay, as there are very few people that can ignite the fire in the Phantom Regiment the way Dwight does. Dwight is not just known in the Phantom Regiment as an instructor and a designer, but as a mentor to so many. We all know that marching drum corps is one of the most challenging things that you'll ever do in your life, and we all have to learn through the toughest of times, learn how to push through the toughest of times. As a member, having Dwight as a mentor to help me through these times was essential to my success, not just as a member, but as I still continue to go through life. He taught me how to take on any challenge with confidence and never let fear of failure get in the way of success. I can't imagine how many countless members of the Phantom Regiment have benefited from this advice and counsel the way that I have over these years. Outside of the Phantom Regiment organization, Dwight is living out the mission of our organization and continuing to develop the leaders of tomorrow. Dwight teaches us that as a member of the Phantom Regiment, we're tasked with taking everything we have learned and going out and making the world a better place. Dwight is a living example of this as he continues to provide life-changing experiences for students on a daily basis in his day job as the Fine Arts Director in Evansville, Indiana. I think what's so special about Dwight is that through all of his success, he is one that never will seek the spotlight, which for me makes tonight even more special that we get to recognize him in this way. There are countless people that play huge roles in the Phantom Regiment to make it what it is today. And I think we can all agree that Dwight is definitely at the top of the list. That is one that made a difference and will continue to make a difference for years to come. The love and dedication that he has shown and continues to show this organization will keep us moving forward for years to come. So now, please, everybody, help me congratulate Mr. Dwight Emmert on his very well-deserved induction into the Phantom Regiment Hall of Fame.
Ladies and gentlemen, under the direction of Rick Valenzuela, Phantom Regiment.
Thanks, David, and good evening, everyone. I'm joining you live, and maybe I should have sent in that recording I did earlier today. You know, what an honor it is to be with you and be in this position tonight that, a organization that's been so important to me in my life. And to be here in this capacity is just humbling. And I appreciate David and for writing a letter, and Jay and all the kind words of people reaching out to me. I want to thank the Alumni Association for hosting this great event, and of course, the board of directors. And as you think about how to accept something like this, I go back to my educator things and what does the Phantom Regiment mean to people, and what does it do? And of course, I easily come up with, it creates an opportunity for kids. It creates extreme challenge. We provide the support. We provide the support for students to succeed, and then of course the success that goes with their performance. But as I got to working with it all, you just remember all the people, and it's the people that make the Phantom Regiment truly what it is. And then we were able to do these wonderful things for kids. And so anyway, as I look through and I'm here this evening, I do have, it was sort of interesting. I came up with 7 people were the reasons why I'm sitting here tonight. And, it's interesting. I never joined the Phantom Regiment on my own. I didn't join the staff on my own. And it's sort of interesting that I'm here in this capacity. And so there's 7 people: my brother Grady, Brad Shannon, Greg Cesario, Jamie Thompson, my brother Jay, Dan Farrell, and Tony Hall. All had significant reasons why I'm still here. And so I'll talk through those in a little bit. But I want to start with, thanking my family, those of are with us tonight. And, our family was a musical family, with mom being a music teacher, and she loved the Phantom Regiment. Mom and dad would travel the country to see all of us perform with the drum corps. And all of my brothers and sister were very musical. And of course, most of you know that 4 of us marched the drum corps. And even my kids got involved. My son and daughter, they would come on tour and spend a week with us. And even later on, Annie and Dylan even worked on the sous vide truck and things like that. So it's really a full family activity for us, as it is for a lot of the Rockford area people back, the Farrells and such. Anyway, my story starts in 1982. My brother Grady was already marching in the drum corps, and we had seen the drum corps early in the season and just fell in love, of course, with what they were doing. And I vaguely remember having seen the corps live back in the 70s when they came to Evansville once. But anyway, so about halfway through the summer, there was a member left that was a contra player. And I'm sure they tried to find people more experienced than myself, being 15, turning 16 at the time. But eventually Grady called and talked to me and Mom, and she said, let's do it. So she drove me up to Horicon, Wisconsin, to the Mosquito Festival. And I started my stint with the Phantom Regiment Drum and Bugle Corps at that point. That night, we were driving back to Rockford, and I believe the equipment truck broke down. And boy, that was something. And then the next day, it was great because we had the whole day off, and we ended the evening with a short standstill rehearsal and brat party at Jim Wren's house. So that was the first couple days. And then the next morning, we started basics. And at that point, I hated my brother because it was tough. It was hard. And, you think this is late season, and the drum corps was already very, very good. I think they had already scored 85 or 86 by the time I had showed up. So, I worked hard all week, and we get to Saturday, and we've taken a short trip from Rockford over to Dubuque, Iowa for the first weekend of shows. Now, I hadn't planned on marching, but anyway, so we are standing, we're doing the box, what we called the basics back then. And there was a new guy that was on the tower. He had blonde hair and not quite shoulder length, but wavy, and didn't say anything for a while. And all of a sudden you heard him rip into someone. I mean, he just started every choice word you can imagine about getting in line. And I don't care that you've only been here for 3 days. And, well, I didn't know he was talking to me. And Pat Butler comes up to me and he says, well, congratulations, you just met John Brazali. So that was quite experience. Well, a little bit later in the morning, this same man, Brazali, starts walking right towards me. And he looks at me and he said, how much of the show do you know? And I said, well, I know about half of it. And he said, you're marching tonight. You guys take him over there and teach him the rest of the show. So the contra section, we started heading off, and he turned back around and looked at me and he said, and don't tick. Well, so I learned the rest of the show. The uniform crew shoved me into a uniform. I marched that night and I did not tick. So I think right there sort of set the standard for what it was. That weekend was tough in the shows, but after that, it was just magical after that. Just loved every second of it. It was just, what a way to get started. But anyway, so I still love my brother, and I was glad that he got me to do that. I want to throw out, it's tough starting halfway through the summer when all the members already know what's going on, and here I am naive and I don't have a tour or anything, and people like Red Christensen and the sewing crew, they were a great resource to sort of figure things out. In those early years, and there was just some fantastic people in those corps, and they were so kind to me because I was again 16. Most of that corps was an old corps, and Albert Lowe and Dennis Sparrow sat in the back seat, and a couple rows behind me, and they were just so kind, and yet they were so just incredible at what they did, and of course intimidating in many ways. And then of course, I had a seat partner that I had to put up with some, a youngster, Mark Fayard, and he was very, very kind to me, and it just made that experience great. So then, moving into, I think the big thing about that story is, Brazali had his ways. We all know that, but he gave me an opportunity. The extreme challenge. There was support, from staff and members to make sure, that it was. And then whenever I was successful, he wasn't standing on the finish line saying, "Yay, way to go." It was for me to go, "Wow, that was it." And it was really a great learning experience. So fast forward to 83, and tell a quick story of 83. Victor Neves loves to put this on Facebook, and I had sort of forgotten about this a little bit, but we had been to a couple shows, and Brazali didn't like part of the drill, and he was trying to rewrite it, and it involved the drum line and the contras, and he couldn't make it work. And at one point I sort of had an idea, but now of course I was never going to talk to Brazali about any idea I had. So during one of the breaks, I mentioned it to Grady, and of course Grady was not shy that way, and so Grady went to tell Brazali, and anyway, long story short, Brazali used it, and it was that way all the way through finals. What was interesting, again, Brazali would have never said thank you or anything like that, but he always knew my name. He always called me Dwight off the field. Now on the field, he called me Dwayne, and I would say sorry to Dwayne Minnick because you can't win them all. But it was just again a great season. At the end of 83, I became quite ill. And spent a few months in the hospital. And so marching 84 was not really much of an option. And then I sort of fell away from the drum corps for a while. But I was working with marching bands, and one of the marching bands I worked with was with Rusty Bottomley. And this was really important. He had marched bass drum in 82. And so to get to work with him and eventually meeting his dad, Pete Bottomley, who was a fantastic band director, and that whole East Noble connection, they sent so many kids to march in the drum corps over the years. And they really influenced a lot of my early teaching, and again, that drum corps connection. Pat Butler, he even counted his parents to let me or to house me whenever I student taught. So now I had fallen away from the drum corps, and coming to 88 would have been my age out year. And this is where Brad Shannon comes in. Brad and I had marched, and some, Neely and some other people back in '83. And Brad, he was very adamant that I come back and march the age out year. And he sort of had some other people along with him. And so, I wouldn't have come back, I don't believe, had that push not happened that way. So, can't come back. And, the interesting part about that is then halfway through the summer, we had a contra player go down and we needed a replacement. And so this is where the Emmert legacy continues on, as my brother Ron comes in halfway through the summer to fill a spot. And, their story, Ron's story is his story, and he had a great run, and then Jay and whatnot. But, to think that had Brad Shannon not done that, I wouldn't probably have had any more to do with the Phantom Regiment, because in '88 is whenever I got to meet Greg Cesario. And Greg eventually started writing drill for Rusty Bottomley's band. And so Greg always told me that he would write my drill whenever I became a band director and I was ready. And so after a few years, when my band was doing well, I called Greg and I said, Greg, I want you to write my drill. And he said, well, I will write your drill, but I want you to know that you would be number 5 or 6 on the list. And I'm really only good for 4. So he said, but I know someone that I've been working with that you might really like, and I'd like you to give him a call. And that's where Jamie Thompson comes into the picture. So I called Jamie Thompson. We talked for about 2 hours on the phone. I hired him on the spot and we worked together. Oh my God, he wrote every drill for my high school band from then on, and was fantastic. And why is Jamie Thompson important? Was because in 2005, he took the drill writing job at the Phantom Regiment, and he wanted me and Jay to be the caption heads. So, pulling us right back in. And again, I would have never probably worked with the Phantom Regiment had it not been for him. And of course, his brilliance. Dan Farrell called and said, so you really want to do this visual thing? I thought you guys were music people. And so Dan hired us, and it was, again, I think Neely mentioned coming back to the Corps for the first time. I walked 2005, the first camp I made was at Winnebago, and I walked in the school. And, I had worked with some other drum corps in the previous years for short stints. And I walked in and, just the feeling is, this is home. And, you just never forget that. And yeah, there were some people that were the same, but there was also all these new people. And that's just what the Phantom Regiment was this feeling that, so I'm so glad to be back. That 2005 year was a fantastic year. Met J.D. Shaw, Paul Rennick, Adam Sage, Michael James. Pat Seidling was a corps director. Of course, Jamie Thompson wrote the drill. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful summer. Everything was going great. And about July 4th, my kids, Andrew and Annie, flew out to San Francisco to spend a week with the drum corps. And so Jay and I had left the corps, and Tony Hall is there, and he's going to tweak the end of the show with Jamie. And so we were away. Well, so we got to the airport, we picked up the kids, and we head back to rehearsal. And because we wanted to see what they had come up with while we were gone. We get back and rehearsal's over. And there's like 30 minutes to go. What's going on? Phantom Regiment never ends rehearsal early. Well, I'm not sure what happened. I remember some spat between Tony and Drew Solomonson and everything. So everybody left. We went and watched fireworks. Well, the next day, Jay and I were working the corps in Weed, California. Gorgeous facility. And, we were to this news part. So we're excited to see what Tony and Jamie have come up with. And, say, all right, kids, let's see the first set. And they do it. And it's like, oh, yeah, man, that's great. And then second set, oh, yeah, man, that's great. And we had 3 or 4 more sets. And it was like, wow, they really outdid themselves. And then we said, okay, let's see the next set. And the members start looking around like, well, we don't know. And we said, well, what do you mean? Well, Tony said that you would just fit back together. And there was 4 counts left till they were supposed to be back on the real drill. And I said, well, so where are you guys supposed to be? And they're like, oh, well, I'm like 4 yard lines away. And we all know Tony, but 4 yard lines away in 4 counts is still a little bit much. And so Dan comes and he said, well, I need the show back together. So Jay and I, we did our thing. We pieced it back together, and by that night we could perform the whole show again with the fantastic stuff that Tony and Jamie did, and yet we were able to do it. So then at that point the cat was out of the bag. But anyway, so another highlight first from that first show, I forgot to throw Will Pitts under the bus. You know, that was in Laramie, Wyoming. I was climbing up the scaffolding, and Will decides to shake me off as I'm climbing, and I ended up 6 hours in the emergency room, but we'll forgive you, Will, for that. Anyway, so moving on to 2006. 2006 was definitely one of my favorite shows to work on, and what a massive show it was. Rick Valenzuela comes on, and the reason why I mention, you know, and like back, Ron Schultz was my core director in '88, and you know, Pat Seidling, Rick, and Ron, they taught me something and modeled something that I think is really important for us all to remember. And it's, you know, it's really to be what you need to be for the Corps to be successful, and play that role the best you can. You know, and remember watching those guys, they would, you know, find any space that was left on the bus. They would sleep in whatever position, you know, you'd see them under a bus, under a truck, you know, unloading, you know, maybe not having been able to take a shower for days because they were working so hard, and you know, hopefully, you know, I really tried to take that to heart and do what the Corps needed, and I appreciate those guys for showing that it wasn't just about showing up and teaching a little bit and you know, thinking that everything was going to be great. Again, wonderful people meeting in 2006. Freddie Martin, for the first time for me. Casey Perkins, we shared the cherry picker at the end of the summer, yelling at kids over the top of each other. My sister Greta, she actually came on staff that year for a while. And you know, Darian Sanders was the drum major, and of course all the members that worked so hard. I do apologize for some of the things that we had to force you to do to make that show work, but hopefully everybody can forgive us for that. 2007, what a year that was. You know, one of the just freshest shows out there, and I'm glad that that was the last thing that you saw right before I came on. All I'll say, for those that know, we ended the season riding on the Beast. It was quite something, and I am forever indebted to Casey Perkins and Andrea Brown for making sure I made it through that summer okay. 2008, wow, well, you know, so much can be said about that. Some important people for me, you know, Nick Scatella came on to write the drill. Of course, Jay was so instrumental at the end of that season. Drew Solomonson, Ben Furcus. But, you know, that show and those people and that staff, the members, there's teamwork that went into that year that I don't know will ever be duplicated for anything I'm doing. And I've done. The members were just so strong and just relentless, and everything that we learned, you know, back from John Rosali, you know, there was never say die. And, you know, there was this one part of the show in the ballad where, you know, we would change the drill almost every day. But if we could get the members to this one part of the show, they could put it all back together and perform it that night. And it was just truly amazing. And you know, and obviously, you know how all that ended. So to them, I really appreciate it. Appreciate everything that you guys did. Some other people through the years, Myron Rosander coming in 2010, and just a fantastic person, so kind to me. And you know, it was nice to sort of see how he wrote those things. That is like, how did he do that? And it was just nice to see it up close and personal. I'll never forget the horn line running out of the tunnel at finals. Just one of those special things. Again, good friend Jamie Thompson returns in 2011, bringing Casey Michael. Casey Perkins is back. I meet Damon Padilla for the first time and Trish Rarick for the first time. What a wonderful staff that was to work with. What a great guard, the Juliets and everything. I'll never forget just how they made you feel. Dean Patterson, and the members, again, just fantastic work, and sort of bringing the drum corps back after maybe some years that we weren't quite as good as we wanted to be. 2012, I need to mention Josh Scott, David Warren. I remember a conversation that we had, very important conversation on the back sideline, maybe the day of finals. So, some of those very, very important things. 2013 was my retirement summer. And so had a great time with, again, the members just worked so hard, and Reggie Adams was around. John Wooten came on, and it was great to work with him a little bit, because he was center snare back in the whenever I marched, and just you were always so intimidated and like in awe of these people, and then to get to work with them and know that they're just great people, and that's what the Phantom Regiment does. So anyway, so I finish my retirement, and do a little bit with the drum corps, because none of us ever fully end. And then a little while later, Tony Hall shows up, and he's like, we need you to do some more work. And so here I am, I'm still hanging around, and I'm so glad that they'll have me. And so and just in finishing, I want to mention Jim Wren, Dr. Dan, Marty Hurley, all those people that have, again, I know that they may have not known what they were going to provide for all of us, that has shaped our lives and everything. And I'm just so humbled to be a part of that, and at this point to think that I've had some help in building it and everything. So again, thanks so much to the 2020 Hall of Fame class. I'm honored to be with you all, and I think we've held our own pretty well. So thank you all.
Congratulations, Dwight. We've come to our final inductee. She has over 35 years of service to the Phantom Regiment organization. Linda Reebok is a shining example of volunteerism. Linda has contributed as a bus chaperone, a show coordinator, member of the board of directors, and currently serves as the medical director for the Phantom Regiment. Though Linda first came to the organization when her daughter joined the PR cadets, she has consistently stepped up to do whatever is needed to ensure that the Phantom Regiment members are well cared for. Linda was nominated by a fellow Hall of Fame member who also happens to be her husband. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Bill Reebok. Bill?
Thank you, Mike, and congratulations to the other inductees. It's been quite an honor. It's my honor, along with Becky Farney and Becky Nelson, to nominate Linda into the Phantom Regiment Hall of Fame. As Mike said, she's a tireless volunteer in the organization, which continues today, and I know will continue for a long time from today. If you want to see her in the summer, just go to the VIP tent during show times, and there's Linda working, excuse my French, working her tail off to make sure everybody's happy in the VIP area. She's, as Mike said, she's a past board member, a mom to two wonderful daughters who marched, and with other marching members who always called her mom as she traveled with the Corps for many, many years. And I think deep down inside, if she could do it again, she'd be out there in the buses, traveling with the Drum Corps. She was an innovator in the Phantom Regiment medical program, as well as working in the field with DCM, believe it or not, and DCI. It's my great privilege and honor to introduce you to Linda Reebok and into the Phantom Regiment Hall of Fame.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this broadcast. I want to thank my husband, my daughter, Rebecca Farney, and my friend Becky Nelson for this nomination and their support letters for my nomination. I want to thank the Hall of Fame Committee for accepting me, and I'm honored and humbled to be in such company as Greg, Dwight, and Vicki. Their talents have had an immeasurable effect on this drum corps, and I want to offer my congratulations to them. I was made aware of drum corps when I was 10 years old and lived on Dean Street in Woodstock, Illinois. And we watched the VJ Day parade every year come down our street. And I was introduced to drum corps then, and then we would go to the show in the evening and watch the drum corps perform, and I became smitten. And I've been a fan ever since then. And that was 63 years ago. We moved to Rockford in 1968 when Bill and I married, and I was so glad to find the Phantom Regiment was still in existence. So when my daughters were 6 and 7, we put them in the pre-cadets in 1985. I was thrilled to be able to chaperone and offer my skills as a nurse to the Corps through all those years. We had such great fun and such heartwarming experiences. A great joy for me as a volunteer was housing kids from across the country in our home back in the days when we did that. Those kids are now very successful people, many in the music world, others in other careers, and I stay in touch with them often and consider them my family. Our door will always be open to them. And we have so many friends around the country because of our involvement with the Phantom Regiment. For that, I'm also grateful. I'm also grateful to have been fortunate enough to work with icons of this industry, like John Brazali, Michael and Greg Cesario, Bob Smith, Dave St. Angel, Cindy Baumgardner, all the people who I feel have really contributed to the activity. I'm still involved today on the Health and Wellness Committee, along with my colleagues, Dr. Lori Flores and Michelle Orendorff, who have offered such innovation in our health and wellness program. I love being involved with them and hope that they stay with us forever. I want to thank David Warren for having the confidence in me to keep an old lady around for whatever I can offer in this stage of my life. Again, I can't thank you enough for the honor. This is something I will always cherish all my life, and it's what I did for love. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda, and congratulations. Well, as a tradition, or as is tradition, I should say, at the end of every Hall of Fame induction, we'll wrap up our evening with a toast. So if you need to refill your glass, we're going to take a moment to invite all of our virtual VIP guests back to the screen to join us. And as we give them that minute to get logged back on, I want to remind you that once again about the auction. Robert, can you give us an update on where we're at as far as the auction totals?
We just hit $10,065.
$10,065, but there's still plenty of time left for the auction. It doesn't close until 11 p.m. Central Standard Time, so you still have plenty of time. So don't forget to get your bids in. Again, that address is regiment.org/2020 auction. Or is that auction 2020? It's auction 2020. Okay. So I think we've gotten everybody back on, or at least they're attempting to get back on. So now it's my pleasure to lead us in the toast, to bring back to the screen Hall of Fame member, Mr. Ron Schultz. Ron?
Hi, everybody. I was going to actually use my my Phantom Regiment beer mug to do the toast tonight, but I decided I would do it the right way. And so, everybody have their beverages? All right, to the class of 2020, thank you for all you have done for the Phantom Regiment. On behalf of the Phantom Regiment Hall of Fame, congratulations and welcome. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. It's an honor to have you join us. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And we hope you've enjoyed this presentation. We hope you'll forgive us any technical difficulties, as this was the first time we've attempted to switch between people live in our new Phantom Regiment offices and live on Zoom and pre-recorded. So we really appreciate it, and cheers to you. We're going to go ahead and stop the broadcast, but we hope you'll check out the auction and join us for our next experiment in socially distant celebrations. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, Robin. You guys did a great job.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye.
Waiting for Robert to tell me we're not broadcasting